Hello, I'm Noah, and that's Ethan. We're students here at Union College, and welcome to the first rendition of our movie review podcast. Today, we are going to be reviewing the trilogy of Jordan Peele movies, Nope, Us, and Get Out, and rating them on a point system, 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, 1 place for third, in 6 different categories. The categories being theme, plot, best leading cast member, sound, horror, and the ending. And I'm going to kick it off to Ethan.
Thanks, Noah. That was a great introduction. I'm very excited for what is to come. I think people are going to love this. It's a lot of great movies we're going to review in the future, and I think it's going to go great. We've put a lot of hard work into this, and let's just hop right in it. All right, let's kick it off with the horror category. All 3 movies definitely had us, and most likely all viewers, closing their eyes in fear. But some films a little more than others, so let's begin. In terms of horror, I'd have to say that Us takes home the gold. There's just constant shots of grimacing smiles, weird voices, and a lot of fast-paced moving that's very unhuman. It's a very smart choice by Peele to do this because it instills a sense of fear into his viewers. Humans are not supposed to act in the manner Peele portrays the tethered families, so I think it's really cool how he's able to distinguish between them and regular humans. Specifically, Adelaide always walks and runs in like a super straight posture, and I think that while it's a very small choice, it does a very good job of creeping everyone out. I think that the smiles are also really interesting. Like, in society, smiles are supposed to be when a human has just heard a joke or is with their family at a nice picnic and having a lot of fun. But we see arguably the most important smile of the movie when Kitty Tyler is carving a smile into her face with a pair of scissors, and she starts laughing and then crying. And I think that's a really cool choice by Peele, and it could be interpreted in a lot of really interesting ways. Another really important part of horror is how you feel walking away from the movie. And I think that walking away from the movie, I was really, really creeped out that a tethered person would just walk into my room while I was sleeping and kill me or something. I was just scared that a doppelganger would come attack me. It was a really great movie, and I did not get my 8 hours of sleep that night. So for those reasons, Us is going to take 3 points for horror.
Totally agree here. For me, the scariest part was what you said was your scariest part, when Adelaide always walks and runs in a super straight posture. And you mentioned how Jordan Peele did a good job of making these tethered people not humans, although they may appear as humans. I feel the way that she was moving reminded me of a snake or some sort of animal hunting its prey. And that was really scary to me. And let's just say I wouldn't want my doppelganger doing that to me. So I'm in complete agreement here. Us gets 3 points. At a very close second, we think that Get Out takes the silver for a horror. The close-up shot of Chris, as well as the unsettling fact that the old white people are technically controlling these black people's bodies, really, really freaked us out. Also, like Us, we think the super straight posture and weird smiling played a large part into the fact that this film was very unsettling. For example, when the female maid of the Armitage family, who turns out to be the grandmother, talks to Chris, and Chris is sort of why is this black woman acting so damn weird? She starts smiling while crying, and we just found this extremely unsettling. Also, the close-up with Chris in the sunken place, and that's sort of the money shot of the movie with tears streaming down his face. And when the groundskeeper sprints into frame when he's having a cigarette towards the beginning of the movie, we just felt like all these things added up to give the movie a real sense of fear. Also, we just want to note that the plot is really freaky, and the fact that Rose just lures black individuals into her home or into her parents' home and takes over the mind and body snatches them is really just freaky, really, really freaky to think about. And overall, in terms of horror, we really liked it. It just wasn't up to par with us in terms of the basic, just really dark horror. So for these reasons, Get Out gets 2 points.
Definitely agree here with Get Out being second place. The Armitage family is definitely not a neighbor that I would love to have, and I think that at a very close second, Get Out is definitely going to have to take 2 points. In third and last, for our first category of horror, Nope is going to take 1 point. The film, I'd say, is much less of a horror movie and much more of a sci-fi thriller that leaves you like a little unnerved and perplexed. There are certainly elements of horror, like don't get me wrong, like there are gory parts with the start of the film with being a chimp covered in the blood of humans on a reality show. But I do think that in much of the movies, the characters are in no like super recent apparent danger. Like the alien only comes out at certain times, and Jupe has time to even like put on a show for viewers. In Us and Get Out, the characters are in danger for much of the movie, whether they realize it or not. There's also very few jump scares in Nope. Like there are a little funny ones that Peele puts in there, like when a coworker of Angel sneaks up behind him as he watches a film of the alien. And Peele additionally said in an interview that he wanted Nope to be more about black joy rather than horror, which could be a reason that the film is much less scary to viewers than others. I still think it was a great film, but for horror, Nope is going to take last place with 1 point.
Moving on to the theme and symbolism category. We felt all three of these films were some of the most symbolically rich films of the 21st century, and although they were all really super close to each other in terms of the rich use of theme and symbolism, spread on throughout the movie, we felt that Nope ended up having the best theme and symbolism. The film uses the historical event of the world's first film, Edward Muybridge's The Horse in Motion, which stars a black actor and how he was ultimately disregarded in cinema's history. And this connects to how the film, even in present day, OJ and Emerald are still disregarded and treated inferiorly, just like their descendants in, the late 1800s. And we feel like this choice as them being disregarded on set, even as OJ is just bringing in the horse and telling people, hey, don't look it in the eyes, or hey, don't turn that light there, really shows that nothing's changed, and that regardless of how far we've came in this country in terms of laws and regulations, that racism still really divides and exists in Hollywood, which is just not ideal. Another thing we thought that Peele made a great choice with was how undervalued OJ's knowledge was. As I just mentioned, on set and through everyone he interacted with, nobody really praised him or seemed to care with the amazing work that he has done with horses. More or less, he's fired when Lucky goes off on set, and I believe he kicks that older woman, or the horse kicks that older woman, and they bring in this little metal horse that they're gonna just use special effects on, and that just is another example of OJ just being undervalued and people just not really caring what he brings to the table. But in the end of the movie, when the alien comes, he uses his knowledge on animal training to try to figure out its preying habitats and ultimately kill the alien, saving a lot of lives in the future. Yeah, so OJ goes through this horrific experience with the alien trying to kill the alien, but his abilities save save his sister and a lot of other people for certain death. Also, many people interpret the alien as a symbol of evil American colonialism. American colonizers have destroyed the land, resources, and valued their survival over anyone else's. And in Nope, the alien discards what is not useful and steals the resources and feeds onto others who threaten it. Overall, these, as well as an array of other thematic choices within the film, are the reason Nope receives 3 points for theme.
In a close second, Us has the next best theme and symbolism. The film also uses historical events as a thematic choice. as Us starts by using the 1986 Hands Across America fundraiser to critique how capitalism tries to solve complex social issues by people just donating a bunch of money and making the problem a spectacle instead of actually taking care of the problem. I did some background research, and with Hands Across America, over $34 million was actually raised, but only $15 million went to charities and $7 to $8 million was unaccounted for. A lot of money was donated, but nothing changed in terms of the homelessness it was trying to solve because they didn't know what to put the money towards. They had a lot of money, but no realistic plan to help actually solve the problem. So putting this in context of the movie, the tethered make the line across America by the end of the movie, but it's hard to say whether they have actually accomplished anything. Yeah, they've made it to the above ground world and killed a lot of doppelgangers, or killed the real people that live above ground. But have they really accomplished what they wanted to accomplish? I feel like it's gonna be very hard for them to live a normal life. And another great thematic choice in the film is that the film dives into the cost of success and class division through pinning Adelaide and Red against each other. Adelaide grew up in such an oppressive environment as she was switched places with Red and was locked in an abandoned government facility. And she felt her only way to escape was to murder Red and get revenge. And by pinning Red and Adelaide against each other, Peel hints that the cost of rising socially can also has a lot of consequences, and that for everything one works and gets for themselves, there's a cost. And so by trading places with Adelaide, Red got a better life, but also condemned Adelaide to live with the tethered. And by murdering Adelaide, Red finally gained her freedom by killing the other version of herself, but she also committed murder. So I think the overall theme and symbolism of this film were very well thought out, but just not as good as Nope, which I believe can be said is one of the best thematic and symbolic movies of the 21st century. So for these reasons, Us is going to take home 2 points for theme and symbolism.
And rounding out this category, unfortunately, as it is my favorite movie of the three, is Get Out. Although the film has a lot of great thematic choices and symbolism, when put up against the two star powers of Nope and Us, it just doesn't really get the job done here in this category. Some things of note, some things we liked in terms of thematic choices in Get Out was towards the end, which we'll mention later in our ending category, so you should stick around for that, is when Rod Williams gets out of the TSA car to rescue Chris. When he gets out, obviously, people breathe a sigh of relief, but originally when you hear the sirens, this scene, confronts the issue of police brutality against black people. If it was a white person playing Chris, I'm sure myself and Ethan would have had a different reaction to the police car pulling up. But it honestly shows how the audience, in a way, to have some sort of self-reflection on how they felt, or how you're supposed to feel when safety and law enforcement arrive. But because Chris is black, the assumption is that something bad's gonna happen to him, which is just awful. That's true in society, but we felt that Jordan Peele exploiting this was really, really clever. Another thing we liked was the fact that Peele includes the exploitation of black people for the entertainment and labor of others. Even though it's taken to a really extreme length, the theme of portraying black people's bodies being sold and stolen to an old white person so they could live in it just shows that things really haven't changed, and that regardless of the fact that we think racism is in the past, or some people think racism is in the past, that it's kind of still here, but in a different, more secluded way, if you want to put it frankly. Overall, like we said, we thought the thematic choices and symbolism of Get Out are strong, but they didn't really satisfy us the way the other two films did. So for these reasons, Get Out's just going to have to come up the rear and take 1 point for the theme and symbolism category.
So that is the end of our first two categories. Now we will be moving on to best lead performance. All movies had an absolutely amazing lead, but I'd say that some actors are the perfect choice for the kind of character they play. In Noah and I's opinion, the best film in terms of lead performance would have to be Get Out. David Kaluuya, who played Chris Washington, arguably put on the best performance of his career. He captures the audience through his strong emotion and ability not to play a tortured soul, but rather, I'd say, a black man trying to navigate systematic racism. The scene that decided Kaluuya's top performance for us was the scene where he goes to the sunken place. I think that close-up shot with his mouth wide open and tears streaming down his face just shows how much emotion and hurting he's suffering, even though his face is just straight. After doing a little research, I also found out that the scene in the sunken place was shot in 1 day, and Kaluuya decided that it was best that in between takes he would hide himself away between takes to stay in the emotional mindset of Chris being in the sunken place. So that just shows amazing dedication. For Get Out, Kaluuya earned awards such as the Critics' Choice Award for Best Lead Role, an Academy Award for Best Lead Role, and a BET Award for Best Lead Role, along with many, many more. For this reason, Get Out is going to have to take home 3 points for lead performance.
Yeah, Ethan, I got to agree here. I thought Kaluuya's performance in Get Out was obviously the best we've seen. And just something to add, I thought that Kaluuya did a great job just being the protagonist of someone who's fighting racism and really just fighting to stay alive in this movie. And I really feel that a protagonist who has the ability to express such fight and such grit is really, really important in a movie of this caliber and of the themes that we talked about in our previous category. So yeah, for those reasons, we really think that Get Out's the best. All right, for the next best lead performance, so the movie that's getting 2 points in this category, we think it very well should be Lupita Nyong'o from the film Us, due to her ability to play both Adelaide Wilson and Red so well. Even though both characters are played by Lupita, she's still able to make it seem like they are totally different human beings throughout the movie. Her ability to shift her voice and body language when playing Adelaide was at first a little strange, but it actually played great into the horror part of the movie and helped viewers understand that although these people look alike, they're very, very, very different people. And for us, the scene that stood out the most in terms of her performance was at the end when they're in like the bunker / underground place when Adelaide and Red are fighting to the death. To be able to fight yourself playing two different characters is extremely difficult, and for Lupita to pull this off was really, really nothing short of excellent. And when shooting the movie, it's extremely hard to get into character for one role, let alone two. Like, this is two different humans, and she's playing just one person. Like, it's really, really difficult, and we really, really appreciated what she did in this movie. And so for her role in Us, she was awarded awards, such as the NAACP Award for Most Outstanding Actress in a Motion Picture, and the Chicago Film Critics Association Award for Best Actress, and more. With this being said, Lupita takes home 2 points for us in the lead performance category.
No, I'm going to have to totally agree with you here. I think any actor or actress who's able to play two roles in one movie and play them so differently and so well just deserves the highest of praises. Great movie and great performance by Lupita Nyong'o. All right, moving on to third place. While all lead performances were amazing, David Kaluuya's performance as O.J. Haywood in Nope is going to take last place. He did a very good job in showing emotion, even through being an unexpressive character, and did a great job of fulfilling an excellent sibling dynamic with Keke Palmer, who plays O.J.'s sister, adding to a little bit of comedy and just making the movie fun to watch, while also appreciating the thematic elements. However, we and many others thought that his performance was great, but others did have problems with this film. For Nope being advertised as a summer blockbuster, many did not like how quiet and reserved Kaluuya was when playing OJ. Many thought that there would be a point in the movie where he snapped and we saw some sort of rage or huge emotion that had been building up the whole movie. But instead, Kaluuya kept a very similar reserved emotion throughout the whole film. And while he did receive nominations for Best Actor by many notable organizations such as the Society for Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror and the NAACP Awards, Kaluuya received no major awards for his role in Nope. And for these reasons, Nope is going to take home 1 point for lead performance.
Yeah, Ethan, I'll be honest with you, dude. While I agree that Nope should take home last place, I wish we could give them 0 points here. I felt that Kaluuya's performance as OJ, it was good, right? Like it plays for the movie, but I don't know, man. Like you mentioned, I felt like there should have been some sort of snap in there. Like he really stays true to like his calm character. Like even when we saw like his dad pass away, he was really, really calm. And when they show the shot of like him sitting in bed looking at the coin, I believe, that kills his dad, like he keeps that reserved and calm, cool, collected approach, throughout. But I don't know, like it's sometimes it feels like you should watch movies through the main character's point of view, and I feel like this one would have been a great movie to do that with. But it honestly feels like we're watching it just as observers rather than feeling the emotion of a character, which I feel is really important in movies. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's got to take 1 point here, but if we could give it 0, if there was some sort of special rule in this podcast where you could give it 0, I might have even considered that here. But, give it 1 point and let's
All right, believe it or not, we are halfway through
the first rendition of this podcast. Ethan, how are we feeling?
I am feeling absolutely great, Noah. I think that this podcast has been going so great so far. I'm so excited for the next half. And I think that these movies are so fun and so great to talk about because there's a lot of stuff at face value that we may not see that we're just getting into. So right now, in first place, we have Us with 7 points. In second place, we have Get Out with 6 points. And in third place, we have Nope with 5 points. This is a very, very close matchup, but the second half is going to decide it. So who will win? You guys just going to have to keep watching and find out.
All right, to kick off the second half of this podcast, before we do, we want to let you know about one of our new sponsors, Peter Paws. Best breakfast in town in Schenectady. Go in there, stop by 7 days a week. They're open. They're only open breakfast and lunch, so you got to get it in while you can. Peter Paws, the first and probably only sponsor ever of our great podcast. Thank you.
Podcast, here we go. The number 1 spot for the plot category had the least debate throughout this whole process for us. While we really didn't enjoy the ending of Us, as we'll elaborate on later, which might even have a little bit of tension between Ethan and I, we felt that overall the plot of Us was far, far superior to the other 2 movies. One thing that really put Us over the top, in our opinions, was the constant action in the movie. It seemed that for about only, 10 or so minutes throughout the whole entire movie, that there wasn't something intense or mind-boggling or epic going on down on the screen. I don't know. For us, our favorite scenes were when the tethered Wilsons first show up in their driveway, which maybe we even should have mentioned during the horror category, but that was just really, really creepy. And then when Adelaide chases Red down the tunnel into the tethered's home, we really thought that was a really good scene because, the camera's behind her and she's just keeps walking down, doesn't really know where the tethered version of herself is going to be. And we just really liked that. And another reason we liked the plot so much was just the complexity of the story. The frequent flashbacks and the slow yet tactical unraveling of the surprising connection between Red and Adelaide gave the plot really just a lot of substance, and it left us on the edge of our seats the whole time during the movie. So yeah, us just gets 3 points here. We really just love the plot for this movie.
We liked a lot of what we saw on the plot. The plot made sense, flowed smoothly, and is overall a very relatable story, as it is extreme, but it does focus on the potentially fearful situation of a black man in an all-white environment feeling out of place. Specifically, we really enjoyed the sunken place and the auction scenes. We felt that the ominous and eerie-like vibes that these scenes give off complement the build-up and climax of the story very well. I'd say the only real negative thing Noah and I have to say that would deduct the 1 point from Get Out and give it to us would be the fact that the storyline wasn't in our minds as complex as what we saw from us. There are a few side stories along the way, plot-wise, such as Chris finding out about the other black people that Rose coaxed, or the fact that great-grandpa Armitage lost to Jesse Owens in the Olympics. But I think there was nothing super complex or moving in terms of plot that really needs to be mentioned. Of course, in terms of theme, there was a lot, but I think it's important to point out that in terms of plot, it just was not as complex and engaging as us. Still a very, very good movie. Probably one of Peele's best, if not the best. But in conclusion, we liked what we saw with Get Out, so it's going to get 2 points.
Just to add something quick onto there, just try to summarize, Ethan's point a little bit. It's just there just wasn't as much substance in Get Out as there was us in terms of plot. Like it was a little more linear, as Ethan mentioned, and that's really it. It was just it was really great. It just didn't have as much substance, so you can't really dock it for anything else other than the fact that us really was awesome. So yeah. All right, now this plot category, we have Nope. Well, the story has various layers and uses flashbacks to Otis Sr. and Jupe's scarring experience as a childhood star. Excuse that, by the way. I believe Ethan dropped his water bottle. We're just going to keep rolling now.
I'm so sorry, Noah. Keep going.
It's all right, yeah. We felt the points, it was just kind of a basic horror movie plot. While we felt there were some scenes and things that were implemented by Peele that were a little unnecessary and forced at times, I don't know, the whole Jupe and Gordy storyline was it was interesting and provided the main gory aspects of the film, as we talked about earlier. It just seemed a little unnecessary and maybe even inconsequential, as Jupe's whole goal and main purpose was to try to capture the alien thing in the sky, just like OJ and Emerald were trying to do. Also, the idea of, I believe they referenced the alien as Jean Jacket throughout the movie, being such a fictitious being and something that's so otherworldly, made the movie feel, 25, 35 years just too late. I don't know, a potential way we could have improved on this if we were directing this or writing this film could have been making it some sort of less otherworldly creature. But if that's what Peele was shooting for, so extraordinary and otherworldly, he definitely hit his mark. It just really didn't resonate with us here. And that's why Nope's just going to round out the bottom of this category and get 1 point.
Next category will be the music genre. In terms of the music genre, Us is going to get the number 1 spot. Firstly, one thing that we really loved about the music in this movie was the inclusion of the song I Got 5 on It in the beginning of the film and the end of the film. First, the song is played while the Wilsons are in the car on their way to the beach. In this scene, through its hip-hop chorus and the characters vibing to the song, Peele provides us with the thought of, this is just a normal family going on vacation, having a nice beach day, singing along to a song, getting ready to have a good time. However, the next time we hear this song was when it was remixed during the To the Death confrontation between Red and Adelaide. The song was remixed into an eerie, creepy instrumental that goes really well with the intensity of the situation. I think this song shows the duality and the ability for one single song to be utilized in a very different way and provide very, very different vibes. Also, another song that was utilized within this movie was Fuck the Police by NWA. Excuse my language for all the kids out there watching. We felt that it was the perfect song choice, as the Tyler family are desperately trying to call the police, yet their virtual assistant Ophelia of the Tylers plays Fuck the Police. It was very relatable, as things like an Alexa or a Siri misunderstand people all the time. It added to a lot of comedy, but it also resonated with us that this misunderstanding was so consequential. Overall, we love the musical aspect of Us, and so it's going to get 3 points here. Great film.
Yeah,
love it.
Gotta agree here, Ethan. Us really take the top spot. Just to double down on what you said about the fuck the police part and the irony of the virtual assistants not really helping you out much. I just when you're getting brutally murdered to fuck the police, it's really just provides a little bit of irony there because, obviously the police try to help you, but when it's fuck the police aren't there to help you.
And I also think Peele could be trying to say something about the reliability of police in today's world with minority populations. And I think that it is really interesting to look at the fact that the police were not able to be reached and what it could mean in terms of theme and symbolism. But yeah, Us, great movie. It's going to get 3 points. Great music. Noah and I loved it. Great job.
Moving on to the 2-pointer in this category, we have Get Out, and honestly, we saw a major drop off in terms of the intellectual incorporation of the music. While there were a few notable songs in the movie, such as "I've Had the Time of My Life," excuse my awful singing voice, there really wasn't any overall depth in terms of the soundtrack like we saw in Us. The one thing we really did love in this movie in terms of the music was the Run, Rabbit, Run song that plays twice throughout the movie. Once in the very, very beginning when Jeremy captures Andre in his night suit and when Chris is trying to escape the Armitage household. The ominous lyrics and tone of the song really made it feel as though both Chris and Andre were being stalked as prey, as though they were rabbits, which only added to the overall intenseness of the scenes. And to summarize, Get Out, good not great here. Just gonna take the middle category, take the 2 points, and we're just gonna move on.
Lastly, moving on to Nope, we didn't really love the music that was played. While there is no doubt that the composer Michael Abels was able to create an ominous feeling through his music, which included some Western-style music and eerie ambiance, we both enjoyed the integration of popular music as a way to symbolize a bigger meaning of the movie, like we saw specifically in Us and Get Out. Honestly, this could very well just be a preference thing from Noah and I, but after all, this is a podcast about our opinions of the movies, so we're not going to talk about something that we don't believe to be true. Other people, music is a totally subjective thing, but with this being said, we're going to say that Nope is going to get 1 point.
You gotta agree here. No real popular music played in this movie, and honestly, in this second half of the podcast, we're really seeing a big fall off from Nope here. So maybe it can make a little comeback here in this next category, but it's got to figure it out if it wants to get top prize during this podcast. All right, last but certainly not least, we'd like to move on to the ending category. Fitting, because it's the last category we talked about. See what we did there. We'd like to start off with Get Out. The unexpected twist is really the reason that we love the ending of Get Out more than Nope and Us. The fierce escape that Chris performs from the back and forth battle with Jeremy to the intense interaction with Rose, it really got us on the edge of our seats. The sequence of events was captivating and really, it kept our adrenaline high. While this was all in good, what we really won us over here was when what we thought was a police car pulled up. We mentioned this earlier. At that moment, everyone first thought was like, oh, crap. It's the police. And Chris is actively choking out Rose, which obviously he appears to be the stereotypical bad guy in this situation, especially considering, the racial dynamics at play here. However, when we saw that it was Rod, it overthrew our expectations and provided, a feel-good sort of triumphant moment that left us satisfied. And this clever twist really made the ending of Get Out truly memorable and one that one that will stick with me and I'm sure will stick with Ethan going forward. And with this being said, Get Out's just going to take 3 points here. Really, really, really good ending.
Moving on to second place for ending, it's going to have to be Nope. Overall, we really enjoyed the ending as it almost wrapped everything up in a way that made it seem like a feel-good story. The idea of OJ and Emerald finally succeeding in capturing Jean Jacket on camera after all their trial and error for a chance at their 5 minutes of fame and some monetary benefits in Hollywood was really interesting. Also, as Noah mentions during our prep for this podcast, it can definitely be considered a feel-good story because it allows them to carry on their father's legacy after he was killed by a coin that hurled down from the sky when Jean Jacket couldn't digest it. Finally, Emerald using the photo machine right before Jean Jacket exploded and her celebration after she officially captured Jean Jacket was, in our minds, a great happy ending to the movie. Just so much relief shown in her face from how much she was just terrorized throughout the whole movie by Jean Jacket. I think it was a great movie, great ending, how they finally killed the alien and were able to continue having the farm and being able to survive, honestly. So, considering we like the ending, just not as much as Get Out, Nope is going to get 2 points here.
Finally, to us, and this is really going to be the most contentious, very, very contentious part of this whole podcast. Is me and Ethan did not agree on what went down here and the ending of Us, but I'm just gonna state my piece, and then Ethan will state his piece, and it's really up to the listener here to see who they agree with. So even though the plot was really complex and intriguing, I didn't love the ending. I'll be honest. While doing some research for the podcast, I realized that this opinion, and even talking to Ethan about it, that my opinion's in the minority. But I just have my reasons as to why I don't like the ending nearly as much as the other two. Honestly, for me, it just left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Although, the creepiness of learning about the childhood switch between Red and Adelaide clarifies, it clarifies a lot about the storyline. Overall, I just felt that there, should have been a more settling, positive element to the movie. And while I understand that that's not always how movies should end, the child in me wants that to be the ending. Wants that to be the ending, regardless of what goes down. The good guy's always supposed to win in my little mind. So yeah, it just left me with questions too, will her family ever find out she was originally a tethered, and what may happen, if they ever do find out. And I don't know, her smiling, realizing that she won, being a tethered and making it out and having a family and having this normal family, it just left me really with a bad taste in my mouth. I just didn't like it, and now Ethan can very well go ahead and state his piece and persuade the viewer or the listener in a different way. But that's just what I think. I just think it should have gone down differently. So that's why it gets 1 point for me.
Noah. I don't know what to say here. I loved the little twist ending we had at the end of Us. The fact that this whole time we had been rooting for seemingly this woman trying to kill the tethered version of herself. It turns out that the tethered version of Adelaide has actually been the person we've been rooting for the whole time. I just thought that this was an amazing twist ending. My mouth was wide open by the end of that movie. I was so surprised. And I just think that it was probably one of the greatest twist endings that I've experienced thematically wise. And I don't know how someone could not like that. It was so great, so surprising, and also said a lot about what we thought about each character in the movie. So I think that overall, I thought it had the best ending, and Noah thought it had the worst ending, but because we just could not make a choice and we agreed on all the other films having a great ending, we just figured that we had to throw Us at last place here, getting 1 point.
Before we get to the ending of this podcast, we'd like to give a shout out to our newest sponsor, Herbie's Burgers. Herbie's Burgers open 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. Get your burgers, get your fries, go get a chocolate shake, one of the best that I've had in town. 100% recommend. Thank you to Herbie's for sponsoring this section of the podcast. And now, for your results. Coming up the rear in third place, we have Nope with 9 points. Ethan, thoughts?
Honestly, this is what I expected out of Nope. I mean, it's a very great movie, but it's just compared against, I think, Peele's top 2 films. Just a very good, very, very solid movie, but can't really compare to the other two. So that's why it's going to get third place today.
Yeah, I agree. And for first and second place, after a lot of very, very contentious results, Us comes in first place with 14 points. Ethan, thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree with this decision. I thought Us was a great, great film. A lot of people would say Get Out, but with Noah and I, we just loved Us. We loved the concept. We loved all the elements that Us brought to the table. Very, very close decision here, but I'd have to say Us takes the win here today.
Yeah, can't always agree with Ethan in terms of the ending, but Us is a great film. I can't be mad. I can rest my head on the pillow here and when I go to sleep tonight and be very, very satisfied with the results of this podcast. And obviously that means Get Out's in second place. It ended up being a 1 point race. Us with 14 points, Get Out with 13. Thoughts, Ethan? Again?
Yeah, obviously movies were really close to each other. I think it could go either way based on what kind of movie watcher you are and how you liked each movie. Get Out, obviously a great movie, receives tons of awards, and I honestly think that all three of the movies were amazing. Some a little better than others, but I think overall Peele did a great job with all three.
With that being said, we're gonna have to go ahead and close out our first rendition of our movie review podcast. And unfortunately, Ethan's laundry alarm has gone off, but we're just gonna keep going right on through because it's a podcast. It's our first time. We're making stuff work. So yeah, we thank you for listening. We thank you for being a great audience, and we'll hopefully see you very soon. So thank you, Ethan.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is got a lot of big stuff coming, and we're excited for what's next. Thank you.